Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to transform this little mirror into something that looks antique. So you can see that it's already got some paint on it, or we painted it brown and then it got messed up, and so I've just had it sitting. So what I'm going to do is repaint it brown again, and I got an assortment of appliques. I'm going to figure out which ones I want to put on it, and we're going to make it look antique.
Where'd you get the mirror?
I just got it for like $1 at the Goodwill store. Now when you're painting it brown like this, this is your base color. When you're painting your base color, you want to get a really thick coat on there, and you want brush marks. Don't be afraid of brush marks. You want to give it some texture. And you don't need to be afraid of getting the color on the mirror, because you can remove that with alcohol very easily. And this is just a basic chalk paint, so it's no specific. I'm not big into any one brand, just a good chalk paint. This one I got at Walmart for like $5, so. And you can start with any color, you don't have to have brown. I'm going to do brown because I want it to look really vintage. So I have these appliques that I'm going to be putting in the corner, but they're white and I need them to be brown, so I think I'll just take my brown chalk paint and just get them really coated up there. So that we can start with a nice brown color. Okay, so now that I've got all the paint dry, I'm going to put some features in it that's going to make it look really old. So first of those is going to be my crackle medium. Now I'm not going to do the entire frame, I'm just going to do little pieces of it. And then the second part of it, I'm just going to be using petroleum jelly, and I'll be adding it around the edges, and that's going to give it like a cracked, chipped look. So right now I'm just going to do my crackle medium, and I'm going to just kind of do it around the corners. Not too heavy. And in order for this to work, it has to be completely dry before you put your paint over the top of it. So I'm just going to put some Vaseline or petroleum jelly just along the edges. And then I'm going to paint right over the top of that. And then when that paint is completely dry, I will be able to just rub this off, and it'll look like it's been just a chipped surface. And I'm just going to put it along the edges where it would normally, an old mirror would have some wear. So we'll just put it right along there. Okay, so now that the crackle medium is all dry, I'm just going to take my off-white color plaster paint, it's chalk paint, and I'm going to go over this very heavily. You do not want to go back and forth over the part where the crackle medium is too much, because it might ruin it. But you can see I've got my petroleum and my crackle medium on there. Now I'm just going to paint right over the top of it with a nice heavy coat.
Now, do you do 2 coats or just this one?
Just one coat. That's why you want to make sure it's nice and heavy. Now remember, you're going to keep this looking antique, so that's why you don't really care about the brush strokes. Okay, so now that my picture frame is drying, I've got my appliques that I've picked to use on my mirror. As you can see, they're a brown color. So I just want them to look antiqued a little bit. So I'm going to leave the brown color to start with, and then I'm just going to take that same antique white, just kind of haphazardly go over them, making sure to get them covered pretty well, but not really worrying too much about detail. And then I'll show you my magic trick to make them look. So now that it's all painted, just one coat of paint, I'm just going to take some water. I'm just going to rinse some of that paint off, and you'll see the details kind of come out. You see how that little bit of detail here. Love that color. Yep, there we go. Now I'm just going to let that dry. As you can see, all of the appliques are done. They're rinsed off. The paint's been kind of rinsed off, and as you can tell, they look really kind of old and antique. So we're just going to let those dry off, and then I will fix them onto the mirror and glue them and wax, and then we'll be all done. Okay, so as you can see, the mirror is starting to crack. And in some of these areas, like right here, you can see where it looks really thin. That's where we have Vaseline, and you can see it on the corners here and here as well. And so that area, once this is all dry, this particular area, I will come and wipe it completely off. You can see where it's all kind of crackled and beaded right there. I'm going to wipe that off, and that's going to just look like chipped paint. So it's getting there, starting to look old. So as you can see, the paint's completely dry. Now I'm just going to go through and wipe off right where we had the Vaseline, and you can see it just makes it look like it's chipped paint. I'm just using an old t-shirt to just wipe it all off. And then the last part is to just take my glue, and I'm just going to glue on the applique. So I'm going to start with this one first.
It's kind of a thin layer, huh?
Just a thin layer. You don't want it to ooze out underneath. I'm just going to take my finger and just kind of make sure that it's not overly thick in any area. Make sure it looks centered. There we go for that one. Okay, so I've got my rubbing alcohol, and I'm going to use that to clean my mirror with. I've just poured some into my bowl. Just going to use a regular brush. And that just dissolves that chalk paint right up. Just like that. And I'm going to use my little rag and clean it right up. Once I get this mirror completely clean, all I have left to do is wax it, and we'll be all finished. Okay, so last step is I'm just going to take my clear wax, and I'm just going to use a regular brush, not a waxing brush, because we're not concerned really about the texture. We want it to have a lot of texture so that it looks like a really old mirror. So I'm just going to brush on my wax so that I can get it in the small little grooves. And then when I'm all done, I'll buff it and we'll be completely finished.
Yeah, and then these are all completed here. These have already been buffed, and these are what the finished product looks like. Very well aged. For a $1 dollar store mirror is the small one, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. The
Just
other
a
one,
little Vaseline. That's all it takes to give you this chipped look. And then, in all honesty, for the cracked part, you could just use Elmer's glue. Just put it on there just the way I did the crackle medium. Let it dry a little bit before you put your paint over the top. You get the same finish. So with just a little glue and some Vaseline and a couple different colors, you can certainly age any project that you're working on. So have fun.